Hubilo recently posted a blog giving their top 10 tips about hybrid events that they learned from hosting the Mastering Immersive Experiences event in March. I want to highlight just 3 of those here, and I'll drop the link in the comments below if you want to check out the full blog post for all 10 tips. But here are the 3 that I find most important on this list from Hubilo. Let's get into it. Number 1, be open to asynchronous. So many people are focusing on hybrid events and trying to define what a hybrid event is, and they're really limiting themselves to one view, that these 2 events are happening simultaneously, one in the virtual world and one in the physical world. That doesn't have to be. A hybrid event can be whatever you want it to be. The virtual experience could all be pre-recorded content that is managed after the in-person event. It can be moderated by a virtual MC or a facilitator. The virtual event can have entirely different content than the in-person event. They don't have to be the same, they don't have to happen at the same time, and they don't have to receive the same treatment. If you do host these events asynchronously, you can get a little bit of information from your audience when they're registering that will give you some flexibility with how you create the virtual experience, especially if it's hosted after the in-person one. One thing you can do is just capture all of the content from the in-person event, and then you can treat the virtual experience like Netflix or Hulu or Apple TV. Do you get where I'm going? Streaming services. What do these companies do? They create seasons of different shows and then they post them all at once. But how do they get viewers excited about it? They create trailers, like for movies or new shows. So this is something that we can do for on-demand content for our virtual events. We can create these mini trailers to encourage people to watch. You could also create premiere parties. This would be a synchronous watch party for all of your virtual attendees. You can have an MC that can open it up, a DJ, you can have all these different chat prompts of activities people can do while they are watching the content together, and much more. We have to treat our digital and virtual content differently than we treat the in-person experience. People are not excited about watching on-demand content because you're selling it as something they can watch on their own, not as an experience. So I think it's really important that Hubilo highlighted that fact, that when you create a hybrid event, you can be open to the concept of it being asynchronous. Along the same line of thought, the next tip was to think through the engagement for the online versus the in-person audience. For example, Hubilo had a lot of games and activities in the virtual platform that worked really well for those that registered to attend online. But those same contests and experiences didn't translate as well for the in-person audience. We've got to use our physical space because that's going to be the key differentiator for the in-person people versus the people that are coming online. How can you use that in-person space? And I don't just mean relying on the food and the bars and just kind of taking for granted the physical element for those that are in person. Maybe you can create a scavenger hunt that is based on that physical location where they find clues for the different event activities where they're located in that space. Or you can create hidden social media prompts of different types of selfie poses or hashtags to use at different vantage points and Instagrammable locations at the venue. Ideas like that. We have to find ways to engage the audience depending on the venue, whether they're logging in from a computer or they are on site at the physical location. And lastly, number 3, every event needs a Rachel or an MC of some sort. This isn't just for your in-person experiences. You could think about having a virtual MC who is either coming on camera or maybe they're just moderating the chat very heavily. You can also have someone who is on site as the eyes and ears for the virtual attendees, doing interviews in between sessions. I know MPI did something similar for WEC in 2021. They had interviews on site of attendees, MPI leaders, and speakers at the in-person experience, but only the virtual attendees had access to that content. Having an MC provides a couple different things. It provides some flexibility in the case of when things go wrong. If your technology drops or you have an issue with your feed, your MC is there as a buffer to fill the white noise. We all know we need contingency plans. Sometimes in virtual, it feels like we need more contingency plans than we do for in person. The MC or moderator can also create additional content. It could be behind the scenes Q&A with keynote speakers that the in-person audience doesn't experience, but the virtual attendees may participate in. Maybe you can create an impromptu panel reaction of a handful of virtual attendees after a session where they give their thoughts and insights in reaction to a panel session that they just watched. The opportunities really are endless. Lastly, this person can just tie in all the different content together. They can provide some banter, especially if you have multiple MCs, or if you have any pre-recorded content. This will insert a live element and give you a human feel as opposed to just watching a pre-recorded video and something that's been very highly structured. I've come to realize that event MCs are no longer a luxury, they are a necessity. So there you have it, my top 3 tips from Hubilo's blog of 10 things they learned from the Mastering Immersive Experiences event in March. Would love to see what you think is your favorite tip in the blog post, so I've got the link posted below. Comment what you thought of the event, what was your favorite part, and what you've learned from hosting hybrid events as well. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.